Elections are not just about political candidates. Elections should focus on the people, their level of satisfaction with the performance of elected officials, and the role government plays in their lives. Insights on PBS Hawaii brings you an important series focused each week on a conversation led by residents from one of the island communities in our state. What quality of life issues matter the most to them in this upcoming election? Join residents from Molokai for the first of 3 shows covering the island communities of Maui County. Tonight's live broadcast and live stream of Insights on PBS Hawaii start now.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Laurie Yamada. Well, last week, Oahu Island residents shared their quality of life issues about living in the state's most populated island community. We contrast that tonight with our focus on Hawaii's 5th largest island, characterized by its small town environment, minus the traffic jams and the high rises dominating the skyline. Molokai is only 38 miles long and 10 miles across at its widest point and features the tallest sea cliffs in the world. Native Hawaiians represent a large percentage of its 7,500 residents. Unlike a majority of our other island communities, Molokai hasn't developed any resort areas and has only one primary hotel serving visitors. Many residents dependent on government jobs, the nonprofit sector, and cottage industries to help support their local economy. So joining us tonight are a group of Molokai residents who all have deep family roots in their community. They include the owner of a local newspaper, a park ranger and small business owner, and a taro farmer. So we look forward to your participation in tonight's show. You can email, call, or tweet your questions, and you'll find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org and the PBS Hawaii Facebook page. All right, now to our guests. Ta Yamashita is the owner of the Molokai Dispatch, which is the only newspaper available on the island, and at 33 years is one of the longest running independent newspapers in Hawaii. Miki Ala Piskaya is a Kalaupapa Park Ranger, a small business owner, and a cultural practitioner. And Mike Helm is a taro farmer and a bartender, also a military veteran. So thank you, all of you, for joining us. And we had some wonderful conversations leading into this evening, talking about all the amazing things on Molokai. But let's just first start with a simple question, or maybe it's not that simple. Why each of you, maybe answer this, why did each of you decide to stay and live on Molokai? Anybody can start.
For me, it was really simple. You know, my parents divorced when I was 5. My mom's from Southern California, and she had every opportunity to take me back to California. And I always wonder, you know, what kind of person would I be if I didn't grow up on Molokai? You know, thanks to growing up on Molokai, I have culture, I have local values, and I have a place which is finite, a place that I can love, a place where I can know everybody where I'm from. And I have 2 boys now, 5 and 7. And I feel like it's my kuleana to give them the same opportunity.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Pretty much the same, you know, growing up there, you know, for me it was, we were told, you know, go to college. So when I left and went out and checked out pretty much the world in military and college, you see the world, and it definitely gives you a more appreciation for Molokai. And I always said, you know, after leaving, I couldn't wait to get back after checking out the world. And like, I have children too. I have 2 daughters and 2 boys, and it would be almost selfish of me if I didn't give what I was blessed with to my own children. So that's pretty much why I moved back home, and because I want them to have, and it's growing up with trust, where a lot of places you grow up and trust is hard to find, but on Molokai, there's a real strong trust because everybody knows everybody, and everybody keeps an eye on each other.
You're talking about your kids running around the grocery store knowing that you got plenty.
Everybody's watching.
Aunties and uncles.
Aunties and uncles watching. My 6-year-old can run anywhere in the grocery store, and I'm not worried about him being nabbed or just anything, because everybody's
free-range children.
Free-range children, yeah.
One big family. Miki Ala?
For me, it's kuleana. I was born on Molokai. My father was born on Molokai. My grandparents were born on Molokai. Generations back, my ancestors' bones are in that land, in that aina. And so it's an honor and a privilege to steward this aina and to make sure that future generations have a place to call home, because that's a gift I inherited, was this amazing community, not just in the physical sense, but in the people and their shared values, and this mana and strength and this aloha, this amazing aloha that we all enjoy, that you just don't find consistently in other places anymore. It's out there, but it's aloha every day on Molokai. And I too, I grew up on Molokai, I went away to school, and I had my first 2 children, and at some point sitting on the H1 in traffic, I was like, what am I doing? I need to go back home. And so I moved my family back in 2001, and it's been one of those decisions I don't regret.
Yeah. So with whether it's Molokai, Kauai, Oahu, or Colorado, or Massachusetts, there are challenges in any community, in any situation. What for you today is top of mind? Is some of the things that worry you and concern you about Molokai, and what do you want everybody to be able to talk about for the sake of making sure everybody's safe and Molokai moves forward in the right way? What are your thoughts? Some challenges and concerns that you have.
For me, I don't worry too much on Molokai, but there, like any place, there are challenges. As far as jobs, like I always say, none of us move back home for the great job opportunities on Molokai, and people always say, well, Molokai is so economically depressed. I always would say, well, it depends on your definition of being rich. If it's a lot of money and a lot of things, then Molokai is not for you, It's, and as far as challenges, Molokai has been pretty good at facing people and all their challenges and sticking together. I believe if Molokai stays together, it will continue to be what it is. I mean, we actually have less than what I grew up having. We used to have 3 movie theaters. We used to have the Kaluakoi Hotel. There used
bowling
to be
alleys,
bowling
skating
alleys.
rinks.
I mean,
Yes.
it was so there's actually less. I would love to see Kaluakoi brought back. Nothing wrong with one, and there's a way. I believe there's a way to make it, make it a cultural center, to where instead of tourists, you have they're not tourists, they're students. They come and they learn how we live on Molokai, and they go back to wherever they live and plant that seed in them.
Wonderful people to learn
and
from.
and share, our culture, our Molokai culture. Being a bartender, I meet all the tourists all the time. I'm one of the places, so I'm one on the front line of meeting people that want to move here, and so I'm not really against tourism, but I think there's a place where we can invite, because you have to aloha. I mean, if you don't aloha, you're losing the whole foundation of the Hawaiian culture.
Our identity.
Yeah, our identity is aloha, and the greatest gift, my Uncle Jarrett, or George Helm, is the greatest gift that us Hawaiians can give to the world is our aloha. And we have to keep that. We can't not do that. But there's discernment too. Yeah. Don't let people take advantage of your aloha, because that's happened before, And and then another concern for me, to cut it short, is the crystal meth. And it's not. It's everywhere in the world. But like what Todd was saying earlier, it's because we know everybody, that it's a little bit more. You can see it, and it affects. And because our whole community is one big ohana, we all grew up with each other from generations and generations. It affects everybody, and so that's one of the things that I believe we need to tackle one of these days. I don't know how to do it yet, but definitely.
I think talking about it helps.
Talking about it does
helps a little
help.
bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Sada? I mean, as far as challenges or changes that you've seen that are top of mind for you?
Yeah, for me, if I think about the future of Molokai, I think about who is the future of Molokai, not what is the future of Molokai. And when I went to high school, it was all about the visitor industry, right? It was all about like, hey, you need to learn to become a hotel manager or something, and
Learn Japanese.
Learn Japanese, and if you're going to be truly successful, go away from Molokai and don't come back unless you're rich or retired. And so for me, like growing up, kind of with a little bit of that programming. I think we've been really lucky with our generation because we have seen this renewal of interest in Molokai for all the right reasons, for culture, for agriculture, for being an entrepreneur and making your own way at things. And so, for me, I think the challenge that I see is, letting our youth know, like, not only is it okay to come back to Molokai after you go away and you experience the rest of the world, but we need you because Molokai is not going to be Molokai without all of us, doing all of us. So, being this community that we are.
Well, that's a big discussion
Yeah.
in many communities in Hawaii is, okay, if so much business comes in and there's so much, we spend so much time focusing on building these industries, tourism industry or not, are we at some point going to lose the reason why the tourists want to come here in the first place is because it has that small town community ohana feel. Where do we find that balance to where it's now become just a bunch of big cities, which is where they kind of came from in the first place. So how do you, keep everybody within that mindset of why this place is so special?
I just want to jump in on that real fast because he was talking about the old Sheraton Hotel that closed down and how a lot of people had good feelings about that place and about tourism on Molokai and whatnot. To me, it's all about the way in which you conceive of tourism. To me, what Molokai needs is we need to change our idea about this idea of tourists. Tourists come to a place because they feel like they're owed something. They've saved for 2 years to come to Hawaii and they want people to wait on them. What we want is we want visitors. We want people who have hosts. We want people who come because they want to share a space with you. And I think that if we can kind of grow a visitorship to Molokai.
A little more thoughtfulness involved.
Yeah, and less impactful.
Yeah. I think we have, real quick, I want you to keep going, but we have some graphics here talking about some of the tourism and visitor industries there, and just some numbers, just so people can see. For Molokai, 58,000 annually, 69, almost 70% repeat visitors, and 6,400 choosing to come here only to go to Molokai. And for a small island, I mean, that's pretty significant. And I'm not sure if we have another graphic or whatnot. I think we had something on hotels, yeah. But this is interesting because, hotel industry, that 23% hotel only, 20% condo, 27%, almost 30% private residence rentals on Molokai. So where are we with that? It's kind of continues with what you were talking about as far as why people are coming to Hawaii and or why people are coming to Molokai and how they need to place their mindset when they come here to make it the right kind of experience, not only for them, but for the people who live here.
It's changed a lot over the years. I remember when the Sheraton Hotel was open, you'd get angry people in the grocery store, complaining about why isn't this line moving any faster and why did my, travel agent send me here, right? These days, we have social media, we have the internet, and I think a lot of people do their homework when they're going to come to a place like Molokai. And a lot of our visitors self-select. They see something in Molokai that's special. And it has to do with the culture, it has to do with the people, and it has to do with the fact that it's a lot of open space on Molokai. It's still a beautiful Hawaiian island,
So here's a conundrum. You have the hotel model, right? Which, as a visitor, when you're staying at a hotel, at a resort, there is that expectation of being waited on, and you're coming into that with that mindset. But that's not the desired visitor on Molokai. We want people who are going to sort of get into our groove and not try to change it. And there's a saying, right? Don't try to change Molokai. Let Molokai change you. And it's, don't try to come over here and bring your culture and your, your speed of life wherever you're from, but get into our flow and come along with us on this ride. But so then we started shifting towards getting rid of hotels and condos. We want people who are here for longer stays, who are going to really slow down their pace and enjoy what Molokai has to offer and absorb it at a very comfortable rate for everyone. But then we've gotten a little too comfortable with TVRs, with these transit vacation rentals. And so people are seeing, right, Airbnb and vacation, VRBOs, so now you have this different platform of finding some place to stay, which some people took advantage of. But what we saw were outsiders buying up property and then owning and putting out these places to stay, which then took homes off the market for local families.
Right.
And then, it just,
Which I
the
think is
economics of things, it starts.
statewide.
And these
But
people are
that's
absentee
right.
owners.
Statewide.
They're not buying
Right.
groceries at your local grocery store. They're living somewhere
else, but they're
else.
owning the building. So now, and on top of that, but there are a lot of our visitors, the repeat visitors, they're actually local. They're coming from outer islands. They're coming for family reunions, for retreats, for work, for sports teams, halal. All kinds of other local groups are coming to Molokai and are still counted as visitors because we have several festivals. Molokai Kahula Piko, we have Ka Molokai Makahiki, big cultural festivals that draw, quote, visitors, right? They're counted in those numbers. And so, yes, we're hosting them in our homes and we're trying to find facilities to accommodate that kind of visitor as well. But you see this displacement on the home market.
Well, I would think that most people that visit a place like Molokai, when they have the opportunity or they are in the mindset to visit in that way and to understand why that's of value. Their experience, I would imagine, for most of them, and the reason why there's so many repeat visitors, is so much better and so much more enhanced if they can kind of get themselves out of the YouTube video clip,
Right.
And realize the value of this type of a mindset and setting.
And it's hard for us because we want to be authentic and represented in media authentically. But at the same time, we don't want to look too ono that everybody wants to come to Molokai, right? Because then now we're getting pushed out and crowded out.
Well, the other saying, the other bumper sticker is aloha also means goodbye.
Yes.
I like that too, ono.
It's trying to, how do you facilitate experiences that give people a real, genuine taste of what our life is like to the point that they respect it enough to not want to influence it by their continued or sustained presence, where you can come and hang out with us and then go and let us be us enough that we stay at that right flavor.
Let me ask you guys this, because so often I think opinions from the larger, more dominant communities in Hawaii, are heard first and are a little bit louder with their opinions. But I think all of you have some very important perspectives that maybe people on some of the other communities would value as far as how we move forward within our communities, even what might be the value and the perspective for some of the larger communities to think the way that you guys are thinking about it.
Let me
as we
throw
move
this
forward.
one out.
So,
people look at our statistics and say you have high unemployment rates, you have so many people on welfare, and they look at these qualities of our community as being, they're bad statistics. But for us, I see that and I get excited because we're comfortable enough that we have fully capable adults who are choosing to stay home and not work because we don't have senior care. We don't have enough medical care. We don't have child care. Someone has to stay home, an able-bodied person has to stay home and raise our children, take care of our elderly, take care of our sick. We don't have those resources. But so when people see those statistics, they look at our community and they think, oh, you guys are all lazy and you're not working. Why is that? Nobody ever bothered to ask us why. And I think it's a blessing that you can stay home, choose to stay home and grow enough food in your garden to feed your family, but I can raise my own babies. I can take care of my mom, because I can't afford to send her away to to a care home on another island. I'm going to take care of my kupuna. And that culturally, having that responsibility stay with the family is really, really important. But it's not always reflected in the way statistics are interpreted. And so if you come into our community and you see these as poor qualities and you want to fix us, nobody bothers to ask us why and if we're okay with it.
What do you think would be a nice balance? I know that there's always been a lot of discussion about, okay, could Molokai be its own county for the sake of a little bit more, either control, for lack of a better word, control over how things are run and who the people are, the decision makers, being a little closer to the community itself. How do you sort of decide what is the right balance between, okay, you have the perspective whether it has to do with, medical care or resources for education or different types of resources for the community. What do you feel would be the ideal balance? Because of course you have families who say, okay, we make enough for the family, and that really is what we're okay with. But there's other aspects, I would imagine, of the community would say, okay, in an ideal world, if we had a little bit more either control or a little bit more of a relationship with certain partners, then maybe we could find that balance for everybody in the community. What are your thoughts? What do you think is ideal? That would be a best case scenario.
I want to say, Molokai has always had a very loud voice in terms of what we want and how we want it. I mean, we're known for our activism. We also have we do have local leadership. You've been on the planning committee. You've been a planning commissioner. So we do have local control and whatnot. But I mean, to be real, we're not there yet. There are a lot of complex problems on Molokai, just like any community, and it takes all of us to really talk about it, and get down to some of the really hard stuff. I mean, we need more jobs on Molokai. We do, but we're not about to buy into something that's going to change
our lifestyle.
Change our lifestyle, exactly. Yeah. So it's something that we measure and balance, I think, every day on Molokai as citizens.
You talked about the crystal meth problem, which is not only on Molokai, it's on other islands, other communities as well too, and it's fairly well known that the suicide rate on Molokai is fairly high as well. So there are those things that, as you said, need to be talked about. Mm-hmm. Where are the areas that you think could help in the context of what Molokai needs to be and continue to be to address some very serious problems within the community that do need to be addressed in some shape or form? What is the right way to move forward when we're talking about some pretty serious issues like that?
The sector that I see really blossoming on Molokai is the nonprofit sector. We have a lot of nonprofits that have just sprung up in the past 10 years, Kahunua Momona, Sustainable Molokai, and others. They're based in culture. They're based in education. They bring a lot of people from off island. They've been creating jobs and whatnot. And I love that sector is healthy on Molokai. I think it's been really helpful.
And this is a question that I think leads into that. They're saying, well, okay, if Molokai is as connected as it is, why is there a crystal meth problem? Why is there some concern with the levels of suicide, and why wouldn't you reach out to a little bit more in those particular areas? What's the hesitation there, or is there not a hesitation that is happening? You feel that's happening in a way that's going to make a difference?
I think it's just hard. Yeah. It's hard because it's your family members and everybody knows everybody, and so there's shame. There's tough love. It's hard to tough love, and I believe Molokai could be one of the places that can, if we all came together, because we are so tight, to somehow, help everybody that's having problems with that. And it's basically just getting the community to come to the table and start figuring out ways to, and I don't have the answers. I mean, I've been there. I've done that. I've done crystal meth before, so I've been there, you know. So I'm lucky to have gotten out of it. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, just they need help, but you know, you can't help people that don't think they need help too. So it's hard, but I think Molokai is a place that can, because of our close, tight bond with everybody, that we can do something about it. Because it's not like there's no hope. I believe there is hope. I mean, it's not the only thing. I mean, I have more positive things about Molokai, but that, for me, I've seen it. It's been in so many family members and my family, friends' families, friends, that has destroyed lives. So I really want to.
I think one of the factors contributing to the escalation of this as a problem is the deterioration of the family structure. We had really strong kupuna. When we were growing up, our kupuna generation were just strong advocates, they like prayer warriors, and they were on the front lines. And when they spoke, you dare not disrespect. You did exactly as you were told. And I think culturally now, it's like, even though people are attaining that age, they have not just, as a society, held on to the status. So we really don't have a strong kupuna base anymore. And I think in that sense of guidance and leadership on that level, I think we've lost something, and we're slowly trying to rebuild that, because that would have been their role to just like, what? You like you get cracks, and then, you know, and it gets cleaned out and dealt with, and they would direct the whole rest of the family, like, no, this is what we're gonna do to help this person. But now, like, no, there's no authority in that capacity anymore. And until we can restore that, I think times are gonna be hard for us, because, right, who's gonna tell you what you're supposed to be doing when you're doing the wrong thing? Yeah, you cannot tell me, who are you? You're not my mother, you're not my father, you know, like, yeah, like, it's about power and integrity. And so I think there's a little bit of erosion that took place, and now we just have to work. So our job right here as young people is to continue to live lives full of integrity and build up, so that when I get to that age, I hope my children and my grandchildren will look at me and do exactly as I've taught them to do, and live upon a life.
So all of you have kids, and
Yes.
so what are your thoughts? Because you talked about how, and this is so true, and I got to be honest, when I was on Kauai, 18 years old, I'm like, okay, bye for a while, and you know, then came back, like so many people in so many families. What are your thoughts, and what do you tell your kids, some a little older, some a little bit younger, that you think will make the right kind of impact? Because sometimes, of course, you know, they're going to have to go explore and then realize what they have here possibly. What are the conversations that you have today that you think are the best for the generation growing up now, for them to hear and think about and absorb?
First thing I tell my kids is, you are my retirement plan. When I'm gone, don't expect no money in the bank. There's no like fat will, like I'm not leaving anything. I'm spending everything that I have. I'm investing all my mana, aloha, and every part of me in you in this moment to raise you to be a great person. You're gonna be smart, you're gonna be self-sustaining. Like, I want you to marry the person you love, not the person you need because you're hopeless and you cannot cook and clean and take care of yourself. You know, like, you are my retirement plan, and when I wanna make sure that you're there for me. And so I'm cultivating this relationship. And the same goes with all my former students. Like, they all know, I say it to them all the time, you're my retirement plan. I'm gonna grow old comfortably on Molokai without a worry, because I know that at some point you're gonna come and you're gonna bring me kalo, you're gonna bring me fish, you're gonna make sure I have a roof over my head, you can come take care of me. You know, like, I have, because you can put all the money in the bank and then just like that, it's gone, right? People lost their pensions and wiped out.
And you're saying that to people that you're investing in.
Yes, you are my investment, and aloha only appreciates in value. Yeah, always.
You guys, what are the conversations with your kids today?
Well, you know,
that translates today?
My kids are 5 and 7. They're young, and
You can start now. You still telling them that they're your retirement plan.
No, we're
What are you getting ready for?
we're talking about leadership. We're talking about diplomacy. I tell them, look at this world of division. Look at how leadership now, especially in America, is being prompted by the ability to be divisive, or create a situation out of something. I'm trying to teach them that true leadership is bringing people together, which is much harder, right? And I, just growing up on Molokai, we might look like one big happy family, but we have our internal divisions, and some of them very long-standing. I want my kids to be able to transcend that, and I don't think they're too young to start thinking about, what does it take to bring people together? That's part of it.
Your thoughts, Mike? Conversations you have, you think is important?
For my children, a lot of it is how you treat people, and because my grandma, she was a essence of aloha. My grandma May, and she loved everybody. So, but at the same time, from learning from what I grew up with, is to value our resources, because, and I was taught, I need to make sure my responsibility is to make sure my 7 generations after me are able to grow, farm, gather, and the same things are there 7 generations after me. So I want them to understand how important our lifestyle and our resources are on Molokai, because I truly believe if the economy crumbles, we'll be okay on Molokai, because the people before us did their job, and it's our responsibility now, and I need to pass that down to my kids, and hopefully it keeps on going on and on and on, and we'll be okay.
I know, and there's like a tsunami threat or hurricane, like you see on the news, like people are running to Costco's and buying like water and rice, and our kids are like, grab the spear, the throw net, like make sure, get the bullets for a gun, because after the storm passes, food is out there, we'll be fine, right? Like, they're just raised to think differently.
That's a really funny thing that I just realized probably in the past few years of my life, is that everybody on Molokai has this scenario in their head where, what happens when the barge stops? Like, everybody has played that scenario over and over again.
Because there have been times when
I'm going to grab my solar panels, I'm going to grab my ammunition, whatever it's going to be.
The generator.
Everybody has a plan.
We already
guys
have it.
might be the most prepared compared to the other islands and communities.
Probably.
You're kind of, things come down.
I think so too.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the questions that I have here, and it kind of touches on that a little bit. People just asking different things about, what's going on Molokai. Some maybe from here, some maybe newer to the islands. This is from Hannibal. He's asking, do Molokai people want another ferry to and from Maui, or are the small boats, airplanes, flights enough? What's the perspective right now? What do you guys feel about that?
I don't know. I just flew on Ohana. I missed Makanikai and Mokulele, the small planes. I mean, it's so much easier. It's fun because, like I was saying, the ferry, the one that we had it helped a lot of Molokai people.
Yeah, another question, how do you feel it impacted?
Well, the ferry served a great purpose when when the plantation shut down, pineapple shut down. We had all this, and the resort displaced workers who needed then to get to Maui. So the ones who were working at Kaluako'i Resort then started working in Lahaina and Ka'anapali side, and so the ferry would take them back and forth. But that sort of phased out, and I think with fuel prices and all kinds of factors, flying became just as affordable as...
The ferry prices went a little up, the airfare went a little down. And do you want to spend 2.5 hours of being seasick to get to Maui, or do you want to get there in 20 minutes?
Right.
It's good point.
Yeah.
The hard part is when we're moving big groups.
And the big groups, it was good for sports. Like sports, they would do like some package deals.
Moving the Molokai football team
or basketball.
We have one high school, so they have to go off island to compete in any sport, in anything.
And it didn't matter how bad you were in sports. Like, I played 3 sports, and 2 of them I should not have had anything to do with, but hey, I could go to Maui and I could go to Sizzler and I could watch a movie.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was the perks of sports too.
So let's talk about this. So some of the other activities, other interests that you think on the islands that you feel are going to keep you there, that you can share with people. I mean, we've talked about some of them for sure. Some of the things that maybe people aren't as familiar with, that you feel, okay, this is something that is important to my family. This is another thing that keeps me here. This is.
Well, for
Share a little more.
me, a lot of there's sports, like sports, softball, basketball, volleyball is pretty big on Molokai. I mean, you keep on playing till you can't play anymore, until your body.
We get Makule League,
till your body,
post
till your body says,
Ele Makule League.
and then you get paddling. Paddling's big on Molokai, so and it goes from young to old, and
There's something for everybody.
there's always something.
And if it's not there, you just start it up.
Right. I mean,
Make your own.
That's something that we kind of talked about in the break too. It was the entrepreneurial spirit on Molokai that has always been there, and for the generation coming up now, also very prominent. Also something that of the mindset to be entrepreneurial, to be to kind of advance some
you
of
want
the
to live
things
on
that are.
you'll
You got to figure it out.
Figure out a way.
Talking about
You know,
that's the mindset. You got to figure it out.
And like we were talking about visitors, and I meet all the visitors. They're going to come to me, and they always ask, so how do I live here? Is it okay if I live here?
Yeah.
And I always say, you either become a part of it, of what's happening, and you become part of the whole, or more than likely Molokai will spit you out. I mean, the population's been, 8,000 to 7,500 pretty much my whole life.
I think we had I think we have one more graphic. Just maybe get your 2 cents on this one about the population there. And I don't think this would be surprising to anybody as far as, I think we have a graphic. It shows kind of the west side, east side, Molokai, quite a bit more on the east side, quite a bit more as far as income, and the employment really, really high on the west side. But you start to take, if you get familiar with the spread of Molokai, you start to understand it a little bit. So do you want to explain to people maybe why you think the numbers are the way they are? So you see a pretty big difference.
This is really tough for me because these are the same metrics that Molokai has always been measured by.
Okay.
What is unemployment?
Right.
How many jobs are there? Has there been a fire? Has there been a murder? Has there been a plane crash? And what you're not seeing, for instance, sure, 98% of the food found in our grocery stores does not come from Molokai, but the average dinner table, they actually did a study, Sustainable Molokai did a study, and over 40% of what you would find at the dinner table is
Local.
Mm-hmm. It's either been hunted or fished or farmed or traded or bartered or something.
Talking about the wonderful deer there. People haven't had that.
Yeah.
And
it's good.
And not only is there sustenance, and not only are you able to make it in these different ways, but there's also joy in that lifestyle, and it's, what is that quality of life worth, right? Is it, are these unemployment numbers, are they reflecting on the quality of life on Molokai? Because I'm sure that's why we are all there. We love it.
Yeah.
I think we have some video here. I'm not quite sure. I think that's out in some of the fields. Oh, this is agriculture video. And that's obviously one of the areas that's been a focus, and as far as creating opportunities for people. And that's a big area, obviously, for you, Mike. And it was great. This is something I was going to lead to because it's such a positive thing, is what farmers like you have been doing and how you've been translating into something that's going to work for the community. So tell us a little bit about what we're talking about with sort of what you do,
Right.
how you're making it work,
So
and how that's
right.
working with the community.
My friend Joshi boy, my brother from another mother, pretty much. He was farming and lo'i down in Halava for a long time with Uncle Polipo, and he ended up having to move more west, and he missed farming kalo, and it was just way too far for him to travel all the way from west side to Halava every day. And so he asked me one day, he said, hey, you ever thought about farming some kalo? And I was like, yeah, sounds awesome, let's do it. And we started 2 years ago, and it was mostly to
You cannot keep up with demand.
No, you cannot. I mean, poi,
Tell me, a mobile market is what you guys are talking about. Explain to people what that is and how that's working on Molokai.
I don't know the exact details, but I know that it's basically connecting the community with the farmer directly. And it's the community will say what they want, and the mobile market will tell the farmers this is what's in demand.
So they can just look up online.
And they go online and
And
they.
you don't even have to be a farmer. You can just have a really great lychee tree in your yard, and you can call them. So you can register with
happen on Kauai
Sustainable.
because my dad needs to
and
do that.
anybody, basically, we're trying to get surplus food. People who have produce just happening in their yard, connected to the mobile market, and getting them out to people who are willing to buy them. And so basically, you put up what you've got, and we've got a shrimp farm. We've got eggs, we've got the slaughterhouse so we've got meat, we've got all kinds of things going on. Anyway, they register, they put up what they have to offer, you register as a consumer, you go down the list, you click what you want. I want a pound of so-and-so's beans or whatever, and the mobile market goes and collects all of the produce from the producers and delivers them to the consumers.
So they're selling all of their stuff.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so
And can't keep up.
and they sell out every single week. And one of the great perks is that they have worked it out where if you use your EBT card, you get 2 for 1 on the dollar. So we're trying to encourage our families to eat local produce. And so you can get that really yummy tomato or that really yummy spinach like grown right here on Molokai. It's way more tastier, way more healthy. You're supporting local economy. You know, that money's staying on the island. You know exactly where it came from, so you're not really afraid of some of the crazy things that are getting brought in on our produce, you know, as far as like bacterias and just all of that stuff. It kind of wipes it out. And
Like poi.
appreciate
poi,
it.
You get it 2 pounds for $5.
Yeah, so with
With
that
your EBT.
program,
With
you
your
can
EBT.
buy poi through the mobile market and
That's
get
amazing.
twice as much.
No doubt. I mean, part of the difficulty with agriculture is it's still a difficult industry to be a part of. It's still, for a lot of
Yes.
people, it's still hard work.
Yeah.
But what's wonderful about what you guys are talking about is it creates some predictability and some consistency if you're going to get involved.
We're trying to encourage people
So,
to grow more food and to understand that there is, because that's one of the challenges. People say, well, I can grow all this stuff, but I don't have anybody to sell it to. So I think that's a fun part about our community is we're trying to be more solution oriented and what do we need, how do we get it done, and creating the systems that aren't in place. We didn't have that before, but this is the consumer of 2018, you know, that we have mobile phones that we can order our food and get it delivered. So the mobile market brings it to the community, different communities, drop it off, you know, and so it's just, we're constantly looking for, okay, what's the problem? Okay, how do we fix it? And for Molokai, I think more than anything, it's the process. So we may not always agree. Like people always, we're known for our heated discussions in politics and all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, we can argue and yell at each other in a community meeting, and then go to the store and then talk about our kids' play at school, and you know, and still hug each other at the end and love each other and respect each other. And so, but it's the process. So it's inviting people to have conversations, and from those conversations are born amazing ideas like mobile market.
That's wonderful. So I got to get to some of these questions,
Yeah.
and one of them, no surprise, somebody would bring up Monsanto, but that has been in the community for a while, and it's obviously a touchy subject, no matter when you bring it up. But this is an important thing to kind of talk about as far as where it is now and the pluses and minuses. So this person's saying, you know, it's deep in Molokai, it's paying the locals a lot of money, locals look the other way, but there's a rational way, I would think, to think about some of these businesses that have come and go, that have had a major impact on the island, whether it be Monsanto or whether it be the changes that happened with Molokai Ranch that are still in transition. What are your thoughts when you're talking about these big changes because of shifts with some of these big businesses that have a large impact on the island? Maybe because you know, one of the viewers brought this up. You know, what is your sort of perspective on how you want people to think about a company like that might come in?
Well, if you look at the history of Molokai, it's pretty clear. We've had pineapple, Pineapple's come and gone. We had Sheraton Hotel, that's kind of come and gone. We had Molokai Ranch. Molokai Ranch is still there, but it's
Livestock program was huge at one time.
yeah,
and
but it's
now-
pretty much mothballed now, you know. And every single one of those corporations that have come and went have left literally devastation, you know, in their path. And you know, I'm not saying that that is what Monsanto is, but it really, you really have to look at the, you know, the peripheral and of that framework and ask yourself, you know, is that thing that has been repeated over and over again, is that what's healthy for our community? And if it's not, what are the alternatives? And I know that there are a lot of people that would just very quickly do without Monsanto and Molokai. You know,
But it needs to be replaced with something.
I would say
and I think
majority
that-
would probably want, or I don't say there's more people that don't want Monsanto than there, I think there's more people that do like Monsanto than.
They have helped the farmers with bringing in some of the equipment.
Well, I mean, like everybody disagrees. Me and my partner, you know, I eat GMO, I eat organic, I eat both. I'm okay with it, you know. But
like food.
I like food. Yeah, you know, I'm okay. So, my partner, you know, he's not really for genetically modified, you know, food and stuff. So, but we can disagree. But we're growing our food is organic, you know. And as far as Monsanto, they've helped me as a beginning farmer, where we didn't have the money to start. Like tearing up the fields and plowing and tilling and clearing it without even asking us, will you come and hold a sign, you know, support Monsanto? You know, they never did ask us that. They actually just came and helped.
And because of that, you now have.
Now,
a
because
productive
of that,
cattle
me and
farm
my
that's
partner
going to the
are
markets.
fulfilling and giving
So-
and feeding Molokai with what we believe is healthy food, poi, kalo, you know, and
Which the deer, you said the deer don't like. 'Cause
Yeah.
They don't like the.
Makes their throat
So it's
itchy,
good.
just like if you eat raw kalo too.
You know,
But I
this is-
think, you know,
go ahead.
well, with Monsanto, at any time, any of these big players can pull out for reasons beyond our control. Not even, you know, the conditions on Molokai, but they're in global markets, right? So they might pull out of Molokai. They've done it before. So we have
Mycogen
just pulled out, and you know those workers were displaced. But I guess what I'm saying is we need to have a diversified portfolio. So you'll find that a lot of Molokai people are doing other cottage industries. They're doing art. They're doing, you know,
The
subsistence
shirt that
farming.
I'm wearing is from Molokai. That beautiful shawl that you're wearing
Yes.
is from Molokai. And,
made on Molokai. Yeah, because we can't shop. We can't go off island as easily. We don't have those big brand stores, right? So, and Amazon Prime can only get you so far. So we have to just create our own. So people are always constantly looking for what they can serve, how to service themselves. But at the same, so if you look at our education model, like say there's a call for nurses on the island.
That was one of the questions as
And
far as the, yeah.
We're gonna
availability
put
of
together a
services
class.
there,
So we get
education
our
there.
community college to put together a degree, but we're gonna churn out, say, 10 people who all have this degree, but we don't have 10 jobs for them. You know, we have 10, we'll push 10 mechanics through this program. We don't have jobs for them. So it's like you're lucky if, like, you got to just keep going to school, or you got to keep learning something different, and you're going to find your niche.
Yeah. And that, I think that's kind of the mixed perspective on how we look at unemployment on the island or whatnot, you know, how we need to kind of work in that discussion. I think we have a little bit of a soundbite here. This is from Rob Stevenson. He's with the Chamber of Commerce, and he was talking recently at the last Kako town meeting that we had here, where there were a whole bunch of different people from different islands. So let's listen into what he had to say, his perspective on what needs to be talked about a little bit more on Molokai, if we have that.
As unemployment increases, so do the social problems that come along with high unemployment. And over on Molokai, it's amplified because we don't have that large of an economy. We have 2,500 people in our workforce. We don't have industries that are able to absorb when something happens. We're just lost one of our largest employers, Mycogen Seeds, laid off 82 people. 82 people, 82 jobs gone from Molokai. That's equivalent to 15,800 jobs on Oahu. And over 10 million, I estimate about $10 million a year worth of economy that just disappeared from Molokai's economy. So it's a big challenge. People on Molokai want to work, but there's that lack of jobs. And the best way that we know to perpetuate the culture is to keep the people home.
And some of the questions that we got in from some viewers kind of addressed that and said, look, there's, which I think we've been talking about both sides of sort of what happens on Molokai or on other islands as well. It's really any community, and concerns about the homeless situation there, as it is on every island here. Any other thoughts? We've kind of touched on this already, but any other thoughts as to your response to what he had to say?
The tone that I get from him is like, well, who's going to pick up the pieces or who's going to provide the jobs? And, I think that, for generations, we've looked towards the hotels, we've looked towards, the bigger industries and whatnot. And I really feel like our generation, just like Mike is, he's 2 acres of kalo growing, we all do what we have to do to survive. And I think the difference with our generation, if I could put a positive spin on it, is that we're willing to take risks and to fail over and over again before we get something to stick. And it's so much more meaningful when we are doing it by our values, when we're doing it amongst our community, for our community. It's much more powerful. And to me, that's the only way that, that I see Molokai flourishing in the future.
One thing coming out soon, the community plan. Your thoughts on that, as far as what needs to be in there, how to move forward with Molokai?
I defend the plan. The plan is born of the people. And I'm not sure, there was a hearing today, and I'm not sure how it went. But, we're finding opposition, and people are not off of Molokai not supporting our plan. And there's a lot of hours that went into it. And that's just a struggle with living on an island that's part of a county where the seat of authority is on a different island. So our access to advocacy, our routes, they say, oh, you can submit testimony online. And well, not everybody has a computer or internet service. So you're already putting our population at a disadvantage with advocating for themselves. And so things like that are just challenging for us. So a lot of times you'll find either, we kind of channel all of our mana'o and energies to the ones who have loud voices and are effective, fighting that front. And then you have another group of people who are on the ground and trying to effect change and progress, just on the home front. We got to divide and conquer all the time.
Okay, I got to get to, we're running out of time, so I got to get a couple quick rapid fire questions here. The Hilo Association wanting to know, is it Molokai or Molokai?
My grandmother says Molokai.
Really?
It means in the middle of the turning ocean. On the north side, we have deep water. It's the north
so you're
swell.
saying without the Molokai.
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 Because we have this turning, deep, rough water on the north shore, and the south shore is this calm, flat, shallow water. On the two ends, we have the channels, Pailolo and Kaiwi, that are moving water all the time. Molokai means in the middle of the turning oceans. When you say Molokai, that kai means to lead. And so Molokai means to churn out or produce leaders, to take the lead. So I was raised to say Molokai with that kind of kauno spin that when we got to take the lead on something, then it's Molokai.
See, that's the first time I've heard the explanation of that, so thank you very much. Okay,
I
real
think
quick.
technically you can say it both ways.
Yeah, say it both ways. Okay.
Acceptable, but specifically because it's your grandmother, I choose Molokai.
I want to make sure I get this in because there are a couple of positive things. One, wanted to point out the talented artists and the craftsmen on Molokai. Hidden gem, they say. They're just wonderful craftsmen over there. And another Molokai is saying it's a great example of what the rest of Hawaii should strive to become. So I wanted to make sure I got that comment.
Wow,
Thank you.
Awesome.
So last quick question here from you folks that we kind of asked you about earlier. Former Big Island Mayor Billy Kinoy credited with posing an interesting question. As a resident of Hawaii, do you believe we are a state of islands or an island state? Who wants to maybe offer a thought on that? State of islands or an island state? Thoughts?
If I had to choose one, it would be a state of islands. We're all unique. Molokai has a different mama than the rest of the islands. We're just, we're part of, the state makes us a family maybe, but we are unto our own selves. And
yeah, Molokai is unique. I mean, I've been on every island, and I aloha. I learned a lot from every island, and I consider us all one. But yeah, Molokai is definitely its own island. Yeah.
And I can't agree more, but I also take joy in, I think, the contrast. I mean, just this dialogue alone, right? Like, how are we connected? How are we not connected? You know, we've always seen, you know, the water as something that separates us. And, you know, if you go back to how Hawaiians got here through voyaging, it's actually what connects us, you know. And I feel like, especially in this day and age with the cheaper airfare and whatnot, you know, being connected is at least it's an option now. You know, it's something that we can choose to do.
The ocean connects us, not divides us.
Yeah.
And it's nice to grow up on Molokai and look across, and every day you see Lanai and Maui, and you just know you're not alone. And everything that happens here is connected to our brothers and sisters beyond. So, one pai aina.
Really
Yeah.
good for you guys to have you on the panel, because it was great to just hear people just vocalize that and talk about it and think of the things that we need to remember as we move forward in this community or all of our communities. So mahalo to all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much to our guest, Todd Yamashita, owner of the newspaper, the Molokai Dispatch, or Molokai Dispatch, Mike Helm, taro farmer and bartender, and Miki Ala Pescaya, a park ranger and cultural practitioner. Thank you all. So next week on Insights, join us as we take a look at the next Maui County Island community, the Valley Isle. What quality of life issues are unique to Maui, the second largest island in our state? I'm Laurie Amata for Insights on PBS Hawaii. Ohui ho.